premiere here in Norwich. But first of all, for people who don't know, sum up the Redux Project.
The Redux Project is my attempt to both critique and contribute to the kind of derivative nature of a lot of mainstream cinema. There's lots of prequels and sequels and reboots and remakes, and what I do with the Redux Project is attempt to remake bits of famous movies in the original locations. That's a rule that we're quite strict about. Same camera angles, and we do it on an extremely low budget, sometimes zero. So we try and make a replica of something that cost $1 million for like $1.
We must talk about the Alan Partridge.
Yes.
And the Avengers Redux, and the Norwich Redux, done for the Norfolk Norwich Festival.
Norwich, it turns out, has a very rich cinematic heritage.
It does.
It was difficult to choose.
Yeah.
But Avengers was such a big movie, and it's out now in cinemas, and it's such an international movie that I thought it would be great to try and do that one here, especially as not many people know that it was shot in Norwich. It's not mentioned in the film that it's Norwich. Iron Man doesn't say, now we must go to Norwich.
I wish he would.
I know, it's a shame. It's a missed opportunity. So my Redux will mention Norwich. The Sainsbury Centre is an amazing building. So they chose it due to its architectural majesty. And they shot here last year. And I wasn't sure if the Sainsbury would let me film there, but they were very accommodating, actually, once I explained the project to them and told them what it was all about. So we went there on Monday, just like 4 days ago, and filmed there for most of the day in the afternoon. And then I had about 5 or 6 or 7 volunteers who had answered a call out in a newspaper article in the local paper.
I was going to say, how did you?
That's a really good way of doing it. Like it's still quite new, this project, so I don't necessarily have a formal process of how I do it. And wherever I go, I tend to stay in touch with all the people. So there's like a Redux community now all around the world, and I encourage people to make their own Reduxes. A couple of weeks ago, the guy from Australia who played Keanu Reeves in the Matrix Redux, he said, me and my students have been making Reduxes, Richard, have a look at these. And he sent me about 15 Reduxes that they've been doing. So it's kind of, the grand idea of this project is that it will encourage people to kind of be less passive consumers. And, the technology is within most people's hands now, in their pockets even, to make their own culture.
Bit of Alan Partridge in there.
Sure, why not? You got to, right?
You're in Norwich.
It seemed churlish not to, although not much of it was actually shot in Norwich, it turns out. So that left us with few scenes which we could...
Cromer
Pier. I wanted to try and stay in the city centre.
Yeah.
I've seen the film, and the bits that I wanted to Redux were actually all shot in different towns in South London. But I did find quite a good bit, which we did the night before last. Me and a couple of the volunteers that are here tonight. And this is the world premiere of Alan Partridge Alpha Papa Redux.
Stop! I need to commandeer this vehicle. There's a madman with a gun. He's Irish!
Get in!
Why do you sit so close to the wheel? I can steer with my balls! Where's the nearest police station?
Just here.
Oh, thanks.
Are you Alan Partridge?
Can I just have a look at your little plane there on a stick?
Yes.
Because this is...
I think this is called a Quinjet.
Oh, because this is as technical as you're getting, really, isn't it? I mean, flying across the screen.
Yeah, and in Seoul, a lot of the stunts I couldn't do on the streets of South Korea because of the traffic.
Sure.
So not through choice, I had to do a lot of green screen work, which is something I've never done before. So each new Redux brings a set of new challenges, and I'm learning more and more. And I set up a little green screen it was just a bit of green paper that I bought in a stationery shop in the corner of my hotel room, and this is a drinking straw. And did a lot of car crashes and action sequences just using that.
And I'm really looking forward to seeing more Redux in the future, and seeing what happens, and other people doing Reduxes.
Please.
And
Redux, whatever you fancy, it's not my. I think it's it's everybody's thing to do. Obviously, people have remade stuff forever. It's not a particularly original project. What makes it original is the site specificity of it. That's what kind of gives it an exciting challenge.
Well, it's been a pleasure to meet you, and thanks
you.
ever so much.
Pleasure.
Baby, when you are born, I pick your name. Scream to rupture a day.
The play is based on Annie Ryan's adaptation of my novel of the same name. I was part of the discussion in terms of adapting it, but really it was Annie Ryan's baby.
Don't you want hair like your brothers? Out in handfuls, but 2 years on, as good as you.
It's a platonic love story between a brother and a sister, really, growing up in rural Ireland in the 1980s. And the brother has some learning difficulties as a result of a childhood brain tumour. And the girl is sexually abused at the age of 13. And so really the story is about her coping with these twin difficulties in her life.
Down, youngster. Tell me what have you been at since I was here last?
It's very odd to see my baby being translated into a theatre production. I wrote it as a novel, obviously, and that's how I envisaged it. That's the life that I wanted it to have. And so it's odd to see it take on this very different life. I'm very pleased with it. I think Annie Ryan did a very beautiful job of the adaptation, and Aoife Duffin gives an absolutely stupendous performance. So it gives me a lot of pleasure, but it is certainly very strange.
As long as you live under my roof, you will always do what I say, okay?
Closing the festival this year is this amazing outdoor performance. 451 tells one man's journey from fireman to fugitive.
Citizens, we all voted for this. If you didn't vote this way, then you have no say. We have been tolerant for too long. It's no longer enough to simply obey the law.
Because the experience is quite sort of visceral, and it's very sort of immersive for the audience compared to maybe a lot of things that they've seen. And there's a lot of direct address going on, and the feedback's been very positive. We've had a lot of we've had good reviews in sort of papers and theatre journals, but also sort of the general public who maybe had just turned up to come and see the piece.
Pull the last living book from the embers, blow away the mystery dust, and find the desires and downfall of all mankind.
It's quite a few years ago, the producer at the 101 space, which is tied to the Newbury Corn Exchange, came to Periplum with the desire to kind of bring the Ray Bradbury book, Fahrenheit 451, to life in a large outdoor site-specific piece. And that's kind of Periplum's speciality, this sort of large-scale performance. So they jumped at the chance. There were a series of development weeks that took place over a 2-year period, but the actual rehearsing with all the actors, including myself, was 4 weeks, and then we had a couple of days run into the first performance.
It's a beautiful site. No, it's perfect for the show. Yeah. And it's interesting that you could get a site like this in the city centre, so that it's still connected. It's quite rare to find a site like this. So we were really excited when we came in because we wanted urban decay and something that was disused, so that it felt like a city that you moved into, like an old city or a new city. So it was perfect. We're developing the show, so this is the only third performance of the show. So we like to change things each time, but also respond to the site that we're actually in. And also we were working with 14 local participants, so they were part of the performance tonight. And that changes it because we're working with 14 people, and of course there's the local festival, and it's really nice to engage with the community when we come to a particular place. So each time we ask them to do something slightly different.
Welcome to the burning!
And books? Can a book put a bullet in your head? Fear of books burns into the flesh, ripped into the consciousness. Freedom of thought and expression hacked. We flip the switch and the censor attacked.
The 2015 North Norwich Festival draws to a close. I'll leave you with some of the best bits. Goodbye.
I've been to so many things this festival, and I find it's one of the best times of the year for me. I've been to see Wolf's Child, which has been commissioned especially for the festival. In fact, I've seen that twice now, and it was phenomenal.
I saw the Billy and Bob outside the Forum quite early on in the festival. A little unusual.
Spent quite a few afternoons with pints at the Spiegel tent as well, so a good kind of mix of everything, yeah.
And this was spectacular tonight, very thought-provoking.